We held that nice and long so that everybody can read that bio. That's right. Nearly a decade in the NFL, a Super Bowl championship as well, and now heard on NFL Radio Channel 88 and CBS Sports Network as well, calling college football games. My man Turbo, Robert Turbin. Brother, how you doing tonight?
Yo, that was quite the introduction right there. I wasn't expecting that.
I had to do you right, man.
That was awesome. I feel like this is like this. What did we do here? I did something on my side.
Well, you got is that a Mariners jersey behind you? Framed in the shot perfectly. And
I threw out the first pitch after we won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah? They gave you that jersey?
Yeah. I threw out the first pitch. I had some imposter syndrome, too, because I remember having a conversation with John Snyder, and he's the general manager of the Seahawks. And I said, the Mariners want me to throw the first pitch, but, I was like, I'm not like I didn't feel like I was a superstar. It was just like,
okay,
usually that. And he looked at me and says, Turbo, don't overthink this. Go throw the first pitch. Have a good time. So I said, okay, all right. It was a good time. It was great. It was one of the cooler experiences of my career.
And you've had a lot of them. This morning, I said, who's the biggest challenger to the Lions? And you said, well, it's the Eagles and it's the Niners. If the Niners can get healthy.
If healthy.
And I know. I said, if healthy. And I said, I'm not waiting for the healthy Niners bus. I'm not waiting for it anymore. It's the Eagles. And I said, I might be the only guy in America that says this, but it's also the Packers. And you said, yes, you're the only guy in America that says that, DA, the Packers. You're the only guy. Do you feel a little bit like coming on my side of the bus now after today's devastation of the Niners?
No, I don't. Okay. The Niners were dismantled. All right. No Nick Bosa on defense. No Trent Williams at left tackle.
Right.
I mean, Ayuk's out for the year. No starting quarterback. I mean, how inaccurate was Brandon Allen today? I mean, he had some good performances, but for the most part, he was missing his guys high, overthrowing his targets. There was just no consistency, in the game. And then even your stars then start to make mistakes. You see the fumble by Christian McCaffrey. So the Green Bay Packers did what they were supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do against a dismantled 49er team. Had the 49ers been healthy, I don't know if the result would have been the same as what we saw tonight. But the positive thing about the Packers is this: when a team is down and you're supposed to win big like this and do it, that's a good indication for your team.
Could we get to the playoffs and you come around to my side and say, well, you know what? Okay, the Packers are one of the best challengers to the NFC. Is there a pathway for you to get there with Green Bay?
I maybe, if Jordan Love can go on a streak or a run or find some consistency as it pertains to protecting the football. I mean, there was a lot of close calls in tonight's. The 49ers still were able to get to the football, man. That's been the theme for the Packers. You just can't have those in the playoffs, man. That level of mistakes it's thin. I mean, it gets razor sharp once you get in the playoff time, man. You get away with it in the regular season, but not in the playoffs. I'm concerned about that.
Okay, are you ready then to jump off the Niners bandwagon after what you saw today?
It's a good question. I'm still going to say no. Remember I said this morning, I said, look, they got to win one of these two games. They got Buffalo next week in Buffalo. It's going to be another tough challenge, all right? But if they can find a way to win that one, then there's still hope for the 49ers. Cardinals lost today, all right, to the Seahawks. And it didn't look great on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Niners have to do to get to the playoffs is win the NFC West. It is wide open. No team in that division is really dominating right now.
Yeah, boy, that Cardinals loss helped him out a lot. Keeps that whole bunching together in the NFC West, and the Niners have a bunch of those teams still to go in the division. So it was a weird day because you saw good teams not play very well. What was more concerning, the Texans losing to the Titans at home or the Chiefs struggling with the Panthers?
It's the Texans, man. The Texans losing at home today I think that's more concerning. The Chiefs, the way that they won, they've been winning like that all season long. It's just what it is. And give the Panthers credit, they've been getting better. But the Texans losing to the Titans at home, huge. And then for the Titans to be able to do what they were able to do against the Texans, run the football, Will Levis throwing the football, big plays down the field. What happened to this defense? The defense was supposed to be upgraded from last season, and all they've done is gotten worse. And CJ Stroud has certainly declined from that. I don't want to call it a sophomore slump, but he definitely isn't playing at the same level he was playing at last season. When they take the field in critical moments, Dame, you can just see the body language of when they get into the huddle. It's almost like they're unsure of themselves, and you can tell before the snap, you can tell after the snap. CJ Stroud is unsure of himself, and when it comes to critical moments, they don't execute.
I know, and I don't understand why. Because I really like D'Amico. I mean, you played against D'Amico. You know the type of reputation that he has in the NFL. They were so good in so many levels last year. They were tight. They were on point. And this year they're not. When they're trying to come back against the Titans today, I mean, they've got bad, just mental error penalties. Their offensive line's getting killed, absolutely killed. CJ Stroud's running for his life. CJ's also errant. They're just making a ton of unforced errors on themselves. They're playing a sloppy brand of football, and I don't understand why. If they didn't do it last year, why do you think it's catching up to them this year?
You know, sometimes you just you think your stuff don't stink, man, and it catches up to you. You get humbled in the NFL, man. You have one good season, and you think automatically you're just supposed to build off of it. There were some comments made. I didn't agree with these comments, by the way. I want to preface by saying that, but there were some comments made about CJ Stroud early in the season. Like, he kind of had this sort of appearances like he arrived, like he was already, I think it was after the game they played against Caleb Williams and the Bears. And he kind of was, he's giving, and some people are like, well, you just got here yourself. What kind of advice? And so, maybe there's a little bit of that with the Texans. I don't think so personally. I think other teams gotten better, and the Texans have not. And you do have to take the injuries into consideration. The wide receiver, they don't have their left tackle. But the defense, to me, no excuse.
The CJ Stroud thing's really interesting because he was everybody's darling last year for being a leader, humble, hardworking. They win a playoff game. There was nothing you could say badly about CJ. He was kind of like paired together with the Houston Texans' success. Yeah. He was either the reason or was, a partner in the reason why. And so people are very hesitant to start crushing him. He kind of is above the fray a little bit in that way, but really this season,
yeah,
if he had had a mediocre rookie campaign, he would be getting pretty crushed this year. But because he didn't, he's floating above the criticism that he probably deserves.
Yeah, even me. Like I'll admit, like I'm even careful about, I don't want to, you know what I mean? But I will say this: the one thing I do notice about CJ Stroud that's different is just watch him on the sideline when things aren't going good. Watch him. How many times, if you watch the game, there were so many times quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, Slowick, went over to CJ Stroud, patting him on his leg, patting him on the helmet, like his body language, he's pouting. Even when, and you want your quarterback that, okay, we understand that you get into the heat of the game, but Russell was so great at this. It didn't matter. Like that game we won in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers when we recovered the onside kick.
Yeah,
we were done. But Russell never pouted. He just always, come on, guys, next drive, next play, boom, boom. And you just don't see that from CJ. You saw it last year. It wasn't like everything was perfect last season. They faced some adversity, but he always seemed like he had this positive mindset. It just felt that way. Right now, it doesn't look like that. Like he looks like Kyler Murray did last year. He's always pouting on the sideline and stuff like that, away from his teammates. It's different.
You told a story this morning on the air that I said, boy, I want to dig into this more with Turbo tonight. And it was Andrew Luck. You had played for the Indianapolis Colts. He's a young quarterback, obviously the number one pick overall, and everybody thought so highly of him that it was like, we know he's going to be the number one pick. Suck for Luck. Get bad, tank, because you want to get that draft pick. You want to get Andrew Luck. And you said he wasn't one of the guys. maybe there was some arrogance there and he just didn't connect. And you had noticed that. And I wanted to dig into that because that's not what we think of with Andrew Luck. So what did you observe as we talk about young quarterbacks and kind of growing up in the fishbowl of the NFL?
Yeah, he was just he kept to himself. He's one of those guys. He's already a private guy, right? Doesn't have the social medias and things of that nature, and that's all cool. But when you're in the locker room, there's just there's a bond that has to sort of be in place in order to have great teams. Not everybody has to be best friends. We don't always have to hang out with each other, holidays and after games, and you don't always connect that deeply. But in the locker room, man, you're able to share a conversation. You're able to, break bread. And, in the beginning, it was just like you couldn't get that, with Andrew. When I was in Seattle, Russ, Romo in Dallas was super cool. Big time quarterbacks. And, it just didn't have that sort of vibe in the beginning, with Andrew. But we talked about the game, having the space where it can help you a little bit. And even like sharing numbers and stuff like that. It was like, so like, and it was different. It was just weird because you don't normally get that in a locker room, even at quarterback. But, but everybody learns, man. Everybody evolves. We all strive to be the best that we can be. And sometimes you have to learn to be a leader. How many quarterbacks do we see that don't know how to lead in the beginning? They're just so singularly focused on being great, and they forget, like, man, I'm the quarterback. I have to, I'm like second to the coach almost. And so I think there's a little bit of space for that when it came to Andrew as well.
And you had noted that it was an injury that changed Andrew Luck dramatically from what you saw. And I think this is important for me to know, for me to understand, and for our audience and NFL fans in general. We think leadership is born. You have it in high school. You have it in college. When you get drafted, you have leadership, and you're just supposed to be a leader. And what you observed was Andrew Luck didn't have that until he was humbled by the game. And then he grew into it and he became an awesome leader. What was that transition that you observed?
Well, I use my own experience, and that's where I was able to notice it, because for me, growing up as an athlete and being really good and, and talking trash and being really cocky and things of that nature. And then I was hurt immediately. I got an injury immediately as a true freshman. I was 17 years old. And it was so significant, the injury, Dame, that after getting an MRI, after talking to the surgeon, he's like, look, I can repair this injury, but I can't guarantee you're ever going to be able to play football again because of the significance of the injury and where it's located and what you do as a football player, as a running back. All right. And I'd never heard anything like that. First of all, I've never even been injured before. I've never spoken to a surgeon before. I've never had surgery before. I didn't know anything about this. I'm turbo. I'm invincible. I'm Superman, and in those moments of going through surgery and rehab, and I'm just like, man, like I've got to have a better mindset. If I recover from this, or when I recover from this and get back onto the field, like I'm going to be different from a personality standpoint. I'm going to appreciate the game more. I'm going to appreciate the people around me more, my teammates. And so that happens. That can happen for you when you get injured. I believe it's happened with Kyler Murray. And that's why we see a difference in him. That was part of our discussion this morning. His body language is different. His leadership is different. His press conferences are different. And I just believe that, in a sense, it did happen with Andrew. When the injury started sort of piling along, you realize, like, the guys that you can lean on most outside of, maybe your intermediate family, which is a different conversation then too, because that's not always available for us once we get to this level, because mindsets start to change with people around you. And so the people that you can really lean on that relate the most are the teammates, because we're all doing the same thing. And nobody can relate to us more than us. And I think there's a space that once he recovered, there was some realization there, and it just built a closer bond with guys in the locker room.
You lived a career where you saw a lot of different situations, some good like in Seattle, some bad like in Cleveland. And Daniel Jones has been around a bad situation, let's face it, in New York. Now, some of that is his responsibility, some of that is his doing. But I wonder, do you think the Giants did him dirty? Because, you know, when they dropped him from starting quarterback to fourth string, they said basically we don't want you on the team anymore. And he said that he was willing, now who knows what his agent was going to be willing to do, but kind of like restructure the contract so that he could keep playing for the New York Giants. Ultimately, do you think the Giants did him right by basically giving him a release and now he can go wherever he wants? Or was this whole thing embarrassing and they should have handled it a different way?
The fact that maybe it got out was embarrassing, but this is totally normal in the NFL with teams. Once a team starts to decide that they're going to move on from you, doesn't matter what position you play, it happens. That's what happens. You essentially become a practice squad guy, and they're preparing to, make a decision with you, where it be a trade, release, whatever the case may be. And so, no, they didn't do him dirty, not even close. I mean, they paid him when most people didn't even think he deserved to get the contract. They chose him over Saquon. How did we do you dirty? We gave you every single opportunity and chance to be able to succeed, and could some things around him have been better? Absolutely. Sure. It wasn't perfect on the Giants side, but they did pay the man. He remained the starting quarterback. He got his opportunities, and it just didn't work out. So he was done fairly. He was done just like every other position in the league.
It's funny because he's almost becoming a sympathetic figure now. I see a lot of people saying, well, he'll go to a better situation and you'll see. And, they let Saquon go and they never had a good offensive line. And I think because he handled the demotion well, people came around on feeling bad for him a little bit, but I don't know how you can separate the fact that the Giants were so bad and so much of the reason they were so bad was because the starting quarterback was so bad.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, we used to hear the same thing with Russell when he was in Denver. Like I never thought this, but guys would be like, well, dang, I was, I wasn't that big of a fan of Russell, but I don't want to see him playing this bad in Denver. Like, oh, please, you know what I mean? Like, it just happens. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just human nature to start to feel some sort of sympathy. This is the league, man. This is it. This is the way it goes. This Dalvin Cook rushed for 1,200 yards his last season in Minnesota and hasn't gotten another real opportunity since. How does that? This is the league, bro. This is the league.
You're a Bay Area dude, and we've got a huge audience here from the Bay Area. One of our sponsors is the Last Dive Bar, which is an Oakland-based business that does awesome apparel. They do T-shirts, hoodies. They do pins. They're huge A's fans. They're heartbroken because of the departure of the A's. They're just the coolest dudes ever. I went out to Oakland, went to an A's game this summer. They treated me like royalty. They're the best. They sponsor the show. Behind me, I've got Gary Payton framed on the wall that I wanted to hold up for you since you're a Bay Area guy, because he's obviously an Oakland native. And our listeners are we got so many A's fans that have latched on because I've been vocal about the A's move and that John Fisher's a crook and that baseball's doing them wrong. They've all come here. So I want you to know you were amongst family here with all the Bay Area folk that here is on the show, and Last Dive Bar, who are just awesome guys.
That's what's up. I always tell people my favorite road game was at the Oakland Coliseum. Now, maybe there was some nostalgia, and I also played at Candlestick too, which was, that was more nostalgia for me because I grew up a 49er fan, and I remember watching Frank Gore and Garrison Hurst and some of these other Jeff Garcia, some of these other players at Candlestick. All right. I didn't go to a lot of Oakland games growing up, but I was an A's fan, so I went to a lot of A's games. And playing on the road there, it was just electric. It was, I've been Lambeau and all of these. The Oakland Coliseum and the Black Hole, man, that was a different experience. It was my favorite road game over the course of my career.
For appearing here on the show, Santo Tequila, Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar's signature tequila. We are going to send you a bottle of Santo. It is delicious. It is my favorite tequila. I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor. It really is. They're amazing. They love our show. They love our listeners, and they love our guests. And so for appearing on the show, all guests get a bottle of Santo, and your birthday's coming up. So I think we got a reason to pop bottles with more bottles with Santo Tequila.
That's what's up. And I appreciate that, man. Yeah, my birthday's on the 2nd, man. So this is perfect timing.
And you're going to roll through New York City so we can hang out at some point?
Of course. I've got to go out there. I got to meet with Sirius at some point. So yeah, let's do it.
All right. Right on, man. Well, I know my audience really appreciates you dropping on by. I get so much good feedback on the Sunday morning show on NFL radio. People seem to really love it. You've been awesome to work with since we've been starting that thing since week number 1. And I really appreciate you joining us tonight. And your bottle of tequila is on the way.
Yes. All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
All right, buddy. You too. Robert Turbin right there joining us, Super Bowl champion and NFL veteran Robert Turbin dropping on by. He's awesome. He's one of the best dudes I've ever worked with. And for joining us here on the show, a bottle of Santo Tequila. By the way, the holidays are coming up. Would you like to gift a bottle of Santo Tequila? Perhaps have a bottle in the house because the holidays can get stressful. Have it with some of the people that are coming over. You have parties, you have holiday parties, you have the holidays, family coming over, friends. Bottle of Santo Tequila. You can go to santospirits.com. Use our code Mothership for 10% off your order. Use code Mothership. Get hooked up with Santo Blanco or Santo Añejo or Santo, whatever you have. They have a bunch of different tequilas there, and they're all fantastic.